Hello everyone, welcome to the Instagram Live. So happy to be here again. I was here last week and very excited to share this topic. Last time I was on the Instagram Live, hi everyone that comes. Last time I was on the Instagram Live, we talked about procrastination. I got a lot of good feedback on that. Definitely is something that I see people struggle with a lot, and this actually ties very well into tonight's topic of being overwhelmed and what I do when I'm just so many different things I'm working on, or certain elements of my life feel very overwhelming. So happy to talk about this topic. Just to talk about myself personally, so my name is Avi Friedman. I work as a productivity and time management coach, really helping people deal with overwhelm in their lives, again, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, more in their business, if they have business elements that are just, they're too involved in the inner workings of their business, they don't have time to really flush it out and work on business development, and a lot of other different elements. So happy to be here. I really enjoy going on live and sharing a value of topics. If you are joining live, love to, if you put in the chat where you're joining from, because I live in Florida, I'm in New York now, and I'm always curious where people are in the world, who I'm talking to. So that'd be great if you could just put in the chat where you're from, again, which city, state, or just general area. So that would be great. So wanted to talk today about overwhelm. And it's actually very interesting because I picked this topic about a month ago. I picked the topic, I'm going to go live, excited to join the OKclarity platform. And what happened was, actually just the other day, unfortunately my grandfather passed away. And there's a lot of overwhelm in that. And in terms of how do I deal with running my day-to-day business when I'm going to a funeral, I'm going to different elements of the Shiva, etc. So it's actually, this topic really is relevant to me specifically in this situation because it's literally a very personal topic at the moment, and just to share the process of how I dealt with that in the moment. So if you want to share your joining now, if you want to share where you're joining from, and what do we do when we're so overwhelmed? That's really today's topic. And just as a caveat, I'd like to start with, before getting into the specifics, is that overwhelm comes from a lot of different components, right? There could be emotional overwhelm, there could be practical overwhelm, time overwhelm, whatever the overwhelm comes from. And it's important, just again, this platform is great with tons of different therapists and professionals that can really help in the mental health area and in the dealing with the emotional overwhelm and helping you with the how to process the emotions. And again, that's not my area of expertise, and there's so many other qualified therapists and psychologists, psychiatrists, etc. out there that are really more suited for that conversation. What I'm here for is more in the practical sense. How do we deal with overwhelm on a day-to-day in terms of how do we take action on different parts that we get overwhelmed by? So just to share to start with, again, what does overwhelm look like for you? And different people handle overwhelm in different ways, right? Some people, they get so overwhelmed that they start binge eating, or some people get overwhelmed and they procrastinate everything and never get started. Some people get overwhelmed and they just shut down and just go to sleep, or they just veg on the couch and watch Netflix for hours. Again, whether that's your personal life or whether it's your professional life, the overwhelm is oftentimes what leads us to saying, you know what, this is too much for me to handle. There's just so much going on. So it's easier for me just to resort to what's more comfortable in the moment, which is detaching myself from what I actually need to do. And we know, as with everything in life, again, whether it's personal or professional, the more invested we are into taking action and doing the things that we need to get done, the more likely we are to be successful. And that's critical in any area of our life. Again, whether we're dating and we're trying to find the right one, and we know that there's a level of hishtadlus to go to different shadchanim or networking events or whatever it is, right? If we don't take action, we just let stuff happen to us. If we're able to take those actions, then we're more likely to be successful than just sitting back and letting other people take control. So when it comes to being overwhelmed, the negative downside of that overwhelm is that it encourages us to stop taking action, and we just get paralyzed by all the different things that need to get done. So that's really what we're going to talk about when we talk about, let's say, there's a lot going on in life, and there's a lot of things going on in my business, and or just this one big project that I don't know how to move forward on. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in terms of how to work through that. So again, what I find, and based on the teachings that I've learned and the modalities that I know, there's a man called David Allen. He's the author of Getting Things Done. It was a very, very popular personal development book back in like the 80s and 90s. And it really talked about how to deal with processes and how to really organize your life and organize your projects and businesses, etc. And what he said, I remember listening to an interview with him about a month ago, where he said, in life, we don't really have problems. We really have projects. And while that's like, whenever I say that line, my first reaction is like, huh? Of course we have problems. What does that mean? The message that he was trying to share, and I think it's super, super incredibly relevant to all of us, is that when we have a challenging situation, right? And again, this applies to so many different areas of our life. When we have a challenging situation and we think about what do we do about it, right? And we have different elements. Like, for example, I was sharing about with my grandfather passing away just this past weekend. And so in terms of the actual processing of the emotions, it's overwhelming and it's sad. It's not a problem, right? It's not a problem inherently. It's part of a natural process. And then I'm talking about running my business while I'm away because I'm helping out my family. It's not a problem. There's something I need to do. And it's just not easy to do, but I wouldn't define it as a problem. So what his message is that when we look at an overwhelming situation, right? Whether it's an overwhelming project we're working on, whether it's an overwhelming time in our life. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is there something I can do about this? Is there a step that I can take to help me reduce that overwhelm? Is there an action that I can implement that will resolve it or minimize this overwhelm or this problem, right? Because if there's nothing I can do about it, let's say I have a situation, again, whether it's a bereavement or whether it's a relationship challenge that's just reached this point and there's nothing else that you can do about that, right? If there's no action I can take, then what ends up being is that we need to, again, learn to accept that this is the situation. That there's nothing I can do, right? There's nothing I can do to resolve this. Then it's not necessarily a problem because that's when I need to let go. And the phrase that I've loved saying, and I don't know where it originates from. If you know, please put it in the comments. Let go and let God, right? There's a certain acceptance that if I feel like there's something I can do about it, then I want to go take action. I want to just work through and just go in the hustle of figuring out what I can do and takes the right steps and to resolve it. If there's nothing that I can do about it, and there are times in our life where there are overwhelm related to things that I can't do, no steps that I can take, then what we need to do is just understand that, have that awareness. Like right now, there's nothing I can do about this. There's no steps that I can take. There's no people that I can call. There's no messages that I can send. There's no places that I need to go visit to say hello to someone or to repair a relationship. If there's nothing that I can do, that's really when acceptance comes in and says, okay, again, it's not an instantaneous process. Like it's not that we're going to accept and then completely move on instantaneously. At the same time, if we view it in the lens of I'm overwhelmed because of this challenging situation, but there's nothing I can do about it, then it gives us that pause and that peace of mind that I'm going to do whatever actions I can do. Anything else is out of my control. If, on the other hand, there is something I can do about it, that's really where the overwhelm comes more relevant to our conversation. Because there are times in our day that are overwhelming. There are seasons of our day that are overwhelming, right? Again, whatever in your business life, if there's, again, whether it's tax season is busy or the holiday season is busy, if you're in any sort of gift-giving industry, Purim and Pesach is the prime season, or the costumes, or interior design. It could be that there are certain times when people buy houses and they want to redo their houses. There's certain busy seasons when people want to redo their websites. If you're an accountant, February is a crazy season for you, right? So if there's something that we can do about it, if there's a busy time in our life, how do we take action? How do we get out of that overwhelm and and decide and become present into knowing that we can deal with the situation even though it seems like it's too hard for us. So again, the first step just to reiterate, the first step we need to understand is there something that I can do? Is there an action I can take that will help reduce this overwhelm, or to minimize it, or to get rid of it? If not, just have that acceptance, say, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it right now, so I'm just going to pause, put that, compartmentalize that in the back of my head, and realize that, okay, it's frustrating, it's annoying, it's hard, it's emotionally trying, and at the same time, knowing that I did all I could, and there's nothing left for me to actually take action on, that's freeing in a way to let us be able to reduce that overwhelm naturally. If there is action we could take, and again, you can refer back to the procrastination live that I did of how do I push myself to take action? How do I know what I need to do, I just am not doing it. I know that I need to call this person, I just can't seem to dial that number, or I need to press call on that number. Again, we refer to that. There are a lot of solutions for overcoming procrastination. Here we're talking about when we don't even know where to start, right? We don't even know, we're so overwhelmed that we don't even know where to start. And let's say that, for example, there's a challenging situation that you're dealing with and you don't know. Let's say there's a business project. That's my classic examples, because I work with a lot of business owners. And let's say there's a business project I need to work on. Let's say increase the sales of my business. What do I do with that? I'm overwhelmed. My bank account is dwindling. The amount of sales that we have is dwindling. What can I do to reduce that overwhelm? So step one, when we're trying to, again, if it's actionable, step one is to define what my purpose is. Why do I want to increase the sales of my business, right? Why do I want to work on this project? Again, sometimes these things are obvious, right? Sometimes it's obvious because, of course, I want to increase my sales of my business because I want to get more money to be able to support my family, or I want more money for getting other pleasures in life, or to pay off debt, or whatever the reason is for us. At the same time, taking a pause and saying, what am I doing this for? What is my drive to do it? That makes a tremendous difference in pushing ourselves to do the actions that are necessary. This is classic when it comes to the diet mentality and the weight loss mentality. And I was speaking to Basia Kovacs, actually. So she's a transformational coach / health coach. And she was telling me that her ideal clients are people that want to lose weight because they feel it's healthy for them, because they want to make a difference in their life. The ones that are more challenging to work with are the ones that want I need to lose 10 pounds so I look better in the pictures at my upcoming chasana, right? So the step one is to define what our purpose is. And that helps us get the clarity that we need to be able to move forward with that project. So that's really step one, is to understand, let's say when they're coming to business and we're talking about how do I increase my sales, how do I improve my marketing, that's when we'd say, step one is understand, why is it important? Is it important for me to improve my family finances? There's actually an exercise that's really, really helpful. I used to use this with clients a lot previously. And when we try to understand, how do we understand why it's important for us? There's an exercise called 7 levels deep. Let's say, for example, why is improving your sales important for you? So I can increase the finances of my business. Why is that important for you? And we keep on asking ourselves 7 times, why is that important? Why is that important? That's when we start to really understand the depth of the emotional impact that moving forward and taking action really will improve our lives. That's just one exercise. Highly encourage. If you want more details, DM me and I'll get you the information for that. Step one is to define what our purpose is. Step two is to define a specific outcome, right? There are so many different things like, I want to be healthier, right? I just want to lose weight. I want to work on my eating. I want to work out more. I want to grow my business. There's no defined outcome. It's hard to know what you're striving for. And again, if you're setting a goal that you want to be healthier, there's no end goal for that, right? There's no time in our life where we say that I have reached the ultimate pinnacle of health and I no longer have anything to improve in my health. there's no such thing. There's always some element that we can do, we can improve. Or if you get to that point, amazing. I'm very, very proud of you. And I haven't met anyone who has not had a goal to improve their health. There's always something that they can do to improve their health, whether it's in the fitness area, whether it's nutrition, whether it's taking care of their body and their skin, etc., their hair, all those different things. There's always something to do. So when we try to say, I need to improve my sales, I need to improve my marketing, or I need to lose weight, whatever the example is, what is the actual outcome that I want, right? And I talk to this, I do this all the time when I speak to clients, and they say, one of my projects for this month is to improve my website, right? What does improve your website mean? Because there's always going to be things that I can improve about it. There's always going to be iterations that I can go through and say, you know what, this whether it's the font, it needs to be improved, or I can add new testimonials, or I can put more video on it, or add cool features to the layout of the website. There's always something that I can increase. There's always something that I can do to improve my website. So when I'm looking at a project and saying, how do I want to improve my website, if I don't give it a specific outcome, it's never ending. And that's why oftentimes that's what's overwhelming, because there's no end in time for that project. There's no defined completion to that. There's no set time where I say I've reached the goal and now I can move on to something else, because we're not giving ourselves that goal of where to reach. So what's good to keep in mind is that when we are aiming for a goal, and what happens is when we're overwhelmed, often it's because there's so much to do, or there's no clarity in the project. And I was working with a client who wanted to improve their website, and we came up with a goal to say, I want to three different parts of her website that she wanted to improve. She wanted to touch up her bio, she wanted to put on more testimonials, and add some media features to her website. And that was the goal. That was the final goal that we put together, and that was the project she was working on, because she was overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, there's so much to do on my website. There's so much that needs to get, there's so much that I need to do that it's overwhelming, and I just got paralyzed and stopped working on it. So we made clearly defined endpoints for that. First, again, step one, if you're just joining now, step one is to just get clarity on why this is important to me. Why do I want to accomplish what I'm working on? And step two is to define what the specific outcome is for that. The third step is, okay, I know I want to improve my website. I know I want to tweak my Etsy shop, and I want to add more listings, or I want to add more features, or take off all the errors that I find. Once you get to that, then what's important is to have a brainstorming session. And again, take this and apply it to whatever specific project is overwhelming you, or whatever situation is overwhelming you. What are all the steps that will take me from where I am now to the completion stage? Let's say, for example, the client I was working with, we wanted to improve her bio, we wanted to touch up the listings, and we wanted to add more media to her page. So there were a lot of different actions that needed to take place in order to bring her from where she was to the final project, to the final completion of that project. So we talked about speaking to the web developer. We spoke about we need to get some friends' opinions on what her messaging should target, or whether it's a copywriter that she is working with, or we need to improve the pictures, the picture quality. Does she need to speak to a photographer, a product photographer? Does she need to map out what parts of the bio that she wants to keep in, and what parts of the bio that she wants to change in terms of the listings? Do we want to improve all the pictures? Do we want to improve just certain ones? And again, just getting clarity, all those different steps, that there's a lot of steps that are involved, and that's why we get overwhelmed oftentimes, is because there's so much to do and there's so much to work on. And when we have that brainstorming session, oftentimes the first reaction after we're done is that, oh my gosh, wow, no wonder I was overwhelmed. There's so much on my plate. There's so much in my head. Of course I'm overwhelmed. And it's good to have it all laid out on paper, because what that does for us is it opens up our mind to say, you know what, these are all the things that I need to do. These are all the things I need to work on. And now that I see it, it gives me a lot of clarity on things that are not important. It gives me clarity on like additional things that actually need to get done as well. It gives me clarity on what the steps are, and I can see it all mapped out, and it gives me more confidence that I can actually take on this project. I can actually improve my website because I see the steps involved. And once you take all the steps and it's all laid out and say, you know what, these are all the things that need to get done to bring me from where I am now with a non-fixed website to that finished product of a completed website to the specifics that I outlined, whether it's touching up the bio and improving the listings specifically in a specific way, then I can take those steps and put them in order, categorize them by the order that I'm going to do them, right? I'm not going to speak to a photographer about improving the pictures before I even speak to a mentor of mine to see if the pictures actually need tweaking, or to speak to a mentor of mine and say, what kind of photos should I be adding to my website? Or speaking to the copywriter person saying, how should I lay out the page or how should I do the web design in order that it's more engaging, and what kind of pictures would make sense for my product or for my bio or whatever specific that you're working on. If we skip the steps, if we say, you know what, I need to go and improve my listings, I need to go and get new pictures, and then I do that work, and I get a photographer, and I, even if I don't pay them, let's say I get a photographer, but then I realize that I really shouldn't be taking pictures of certain like still images. I really need more lifestyle pictures for my website. What happens is we get frustrated because we're doing unnecessary work for no reason. And if we take it step by step, we go chronological and say, here are the 25 steps. Here are the 25 steps I need to take my project from where it is now. Sorry about that. Where it is now to completion. Then I can categorize them and say, okay, I need step 1, step 2, step 3, and then just do one step at a time. If we're able to do that, sorry about that. If we're able to do that and say, okay, I have this massive project that's overwhelming me, and I'm able to first identify what the goal is. Why is this project important for me? Number 2, what is a specific outcome that's actually takes it from a completion stage? Again, if I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to incorporate more fruit in my diet, or I want to work out 5 times a week or 3 times a week. What is the specific outcome that I want? And then working from there, brainstorm all the steps that are necessary to get there. And it could be, steps would include setting a reminder, or it could be getting a new pair of shoes, to workout shoes. It could be brainstorming which web designers I've come across when I'm working with web design, right? So if I'm able to take all the steps and just map it all out, sorry about that, map out all the steps and to organize them into what the chronological order is for those steps, then I'm able to now say, I have this big project that's overwhelming me, I need to redo my website. All I need to do, the first step I need to do is to speak to my mentor and say, can you give me a list of the 5 things that I should be fixing about my website? And that's all I need to do. Then that's much less overwhelming when we're looking at that specific element of a project than just, okay, I need to fix my website. And when we have very specific actionable steps to be able to make progress towards this project, that's when the overwhelm gets reduced and we're able to really focus on what matters most. So, again, any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Anything specific, let's say there's a specific project and you want to go through the 5 steps of project planning, right? That's really what we're talking about. When we're overwhelmed, again, just to reiterate in the beginning, if it's a clinical overwhelm and emotional overwhelm, it was overwhelmed, then that's something, again, clinical. That's not my forte, and there are plenty of therapists on there. If it's more of a project overwhelm and things that are overwhelming us, then going through those 5 steps. Great question, Hindi. What about things that don't ever have an endpoint, such as housework or raising children? Great question, right? Because those things come up all the time. There are things that are constantly evolving. So I guess just go through the steps in the project planning. First one is, again, when raising children, why is it important? Or even in housework, why is it important for us to do it, right? And again, obviously the answer is clear, but if we just take a step back and say it's important for me to have children that have morals and values and are able to spread that purity to other people and be a positive influence, etc. And then what does raising children mean? right? What does it mean I need to work on raising children? Does that mean that I need to establish better routines with them? Does that mean that I need to incorporate positive messages throughout the day? Does that mean I need to spend more quality time with them? Does that mean that there are I need to teach them certain things, or I need to work on my discipline? What is raising children? What is that? What's the specific outcome that we're looking for? That what is that goal that we're aiming towards, right? Because there's always going to be that never ending, I need to work on raising my children and be able to give them good midos and be able to give them positive experiences in life, right? So that's when we get overwhelmed. There's so much to do. There's so many things I want to work on with my children that we don't take the actions that we need to. If we take a step back and say, you know what my goal is with raising children, I want to work on getting more one-on-one time with them. So what are all the steps that I can actually carve out time to spend one-on-one time with them? Do I want to take one of them to the store with me on certain occasions, do grocery shopping? Do I want to take bedtime and split it up into little 5-minute chunks, and I can spend 5 minutes with each child? And how do I create that routine? So that would be brainstorming all the steps of what my outcome wants to be. And therefore, once I have that, I can take specific actions towards that. And just to your other question with housework, right? So which part is overwhelming? Am I doing too much, right? What's my end goal is to, obviously my end goal is not going to be to not do housework anymore, right? That's not the goal. It's the question of how to make it easier. So is there a specific area of your housework that's too challenging that I want to work on? Is there a specific routine I need to have in place for whether it's delegating or to make it more efficient? And once I get clarity on what is my goal, what am I aiming towards, what can I achieve, then I can outline the steps that are necessary to achieve that goal. So a great question. And again, if you want more information, please feel free to reach out as well privately, and I'll be happy to answer. And again, just to reiterate, when we're talking about overwhelm, and there's a lot of things on our plate, and there's so much going on in life, which again, for some people happens every minute, for some people it happens occasionally, right? When we get overwhelmed. And the first thing, just to recap, if there's something that's actionable, something we can do about it, then that's where the project planning steps come in. If you missed that, you can watch the recap of this, the replay of this video. And that's when we have to say, I got to figure out what steps I can take, what my goal is, what's the next physical step I can do. If there's nothing we can do about it, it's not actionable. As David Allen said, we don't have problems, we have projects. And if it's not a project, there's no steps that I can take, then that's when we step back and say, okay, either again, with bitachon, Hashem's going to take care of it, or just to accept the fact that there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm just going to free myself of that responsibility. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. Really, really a pleasure. Any questions for me specifically, feel free to message me privately. I would love to help out any questions you have, whether this topic or other topics as well. And looking forward to doing another live coming up in March and April. Again, my name is Avi Friedman. Managed Minds is my company, helping with time management, productivity, and personal development in the efficiency space. So thanks everyone for coming. If you had a takeaway you want to post, I'd love to share it in the comments, anything that you took away from tonight's live. Feel free, whether it's now or whether it's in the replay. And have a great night.